when I signed with Minnesota, it wasn't to go home. It was just the opportunity of playing for Minnesota. And there is certain rooms you go in that just bleed culture. And those are always the people that are in the top of the standings and the top of the leaderboard at the end of the year. Do you want to be a potato farmer or a pilot? And I was like, what are you talking about? Neither. And he goes, okay, so you're not going to school there.
Today we've got a really special guest, Vinni Lettieri. Vinni was a hockey player at Minnetonka High School, played 2 seasons in the USHL, 4 years for the Golden Gophers, and you've been a pro hockey player since 2016, playing NHL and AHL. And most recently, breaking news, over the weekend, we hear that you get traded to Boston. And we prepared this whole podcast about your Minnesota journey. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. But just to kick it off, how are you feeling right now for the trade announcement?
Yeah, it was definitely I was shook a little bit, but I have some familiarity with Boston, and I was just there before Minnesota. So I mean, my wife and I are very excited to go back. It was obviously very special to play in Minnesota, and I want to thank everyone that was a part of that to make my dream come true. Playing as a hometown kid, but it's a business, and for me, when I signed with Minnesota, it wasn't to go home. It was just the opportunity of playing for Minnesota, and going home was a bonus. So, I mean, your career only lasts so long. So being able to go and play in different places, I think is very important too. So we're really excited, and we love Boston.
Definitely.
What do you love about Boston? Like, is it the people? Is
the
it
North End?
Yeah.
The Italian food. No, it's there's so much passion with Boston fans, and the city is unbelievable, even with the Celtics too, and the Patriots, and their fan base is outrageous, and they're diehard fans. And when you play at the Garden, it is a very hard place to play in. So everything that Boston offers is just perfect for Hockey Town.
Yeah, and they've been having some unbelievable seasons, so that'll be a great organization to get your feet back into.
Yeah, we're really excited.
Awesome. Well, we'll take a little bit of step back, kind of going back to your childhood. Obviously, you're a hockey player, but were there other sports that you played growing up, and who kind of influenced you throughout your sports journey and kind of how you got to where you are now?
Yeah, I think hockey was always a given. I probably put on skates when I was 1 to 2 years old. My dad played hockey. My grandfather played hockey. My uncle played hockey. Everyone played hockey. My dad actually played in the World Cup and the Olympics for Team Canada in soccer, and then ended up coming home playing for the Strikers in the Kicks, Minnesota Kicks. So he wanted me to play soccer, I think, more than hockey. We both played hockey and soccer. Like, he helped me practice day in and day out. And I think deep down he wanted me to be a soccer player. But I kind of cut ties with that after my sophomore year of high school. But I also played golf. And then the day that I actually quit soccer, the next morning I got a phone call from Coach Nelson of the football team. He wanted me to come kick for him. So I was honestly I was like, no way. Like, I just finally wanted to focus on hockey, and now I get a call from the football coach. My dad told me, he's like, you pick up that phone right now, you're going to kick. And I'm like, all right, like I'll go kick. And honestly, it was such a fun experience, and Coach Nelson was so good to me, and that program was just so fun to play for. And I honestly just couldn't even keep it together. Like, every time I'd be on the sidelines, all my buddies were laughing at me, then just looking at me. It's like, I can't believe you're kicking right now. So I just kicked field goals for the high school for a year. And then my senior year, I went to the USHL, played. Actually, I went after my junior year for like 9 games. That was technically my first time there. And then I did my full season with my senior year. So yeah, I did those sports growing up.
So you said sophomore year, that was really when you wanted to take a turn to really focus on hockey?
No, it was way before that, but I just kept playing for my dad. I didn't know how to let it go, and my sister kind of did the same thing. But yeah, I was a decent soccer player, but the passion wasn't there. Like, I didn't want to go practice. It was more of I just had to. But hockey, I mean, I want to shoot pucks every single morning, every single night. I would love to go on the ice. Like, that was my passion, and I love doing that. So
looking back, do you think playing soccer, even though you might not have wanted to do it in the moment, do you feel like that helped you as a hockey player?
For sure. I think soccer was the best thing for me, for my cardio, for my footwork, just different skills, vision, everything. I think soccer is a very, very good complementary sport for hockey. So I mean, I loved every second of being able to go out there and do that. My dad loved it, but it just wasn't, I knew at some point, I just didn't know when I could let it go. And I just like after my sophomore year, because I made the varsity team as a freshman, played sophomore, but I was just like, I don't even want to play anymore. So it just wasn't my sport.
Well, and that just goes to show, like, you got to follow your passions. You can, do things for your parents, but at the end of the day, like, you got to do it for you, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So going back to, you said you shot pucks every morning. When did that start? Because we're talking to our 6-year-old about
that was probably when I was 2. I don't remember anything, but I mean, there's nothing I want to do more than shoot pucks. And I would be down there, and it honestly was a stress relief for me too. When I needed to get away, I would honestly just go in the basement, and some days I would just be in there and I'd shoot a few pucks, but just hang out in there like by myself. But I mean, I would shoot hours and hours and hours of pucks. And then the days that I didn't want to, even getting up to high school and when I want to go hang out with my friends, it would be like a homework assignment at the end of the day. It'd be like, did you, parents say, did you finish your schoolwork before you can go outside and play? It'd be like, did you finish shooting your pucks? And my dad would be like, okay, well, there's someone out there that's shooting pucks and is getting better than you. And it kind of draw a fire in me. And the days that I didn't want to go shoot pucks would be the days that I'd be in there the longest. It kind of always happens. The days that you don't want to work out, all of a sudden you find something in you and you have some of your best workouts. But that's always been just ingrained in me, whether it's going on the ice before practice, after practice, is always putting in extra work, because that's why I feel like why I am where I'm at today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we talk to a lot of, kids and our guests on our podcast just about sports specialization. And it seems like in today's age, you kind of have to pick what sport you want to play. But one of the reoccurring themes that we're hearing is like other sports can help you get to where, so like soccer for you could have helped with your cardio, helped with just your overall training, and maybe taking a break from hockey a little bit too. Now, do you feel like you have to get away, like take a break even in your career right now to kind of refresh and reset yourself?
So, honestly, some people need that. I don't. I was on the ice 2 weeks after we lost, skating in Florida with one of Adam Oates, who I've been working with for some years now. And some people hate skating. Some people don't skate till after the 4th of July. Some people need a break and just like lifting. I love getting on the ice. There's always something you can work on. So for me, getting on the ice 2 weeks after the year is nothing. Like you even hear about guys like Nikita Kucherov, who he was on the ice a week or two right after with Stamkos right after they lost. And those are the best players in the world. Some people need a break. Some people don't. The only reason I like the break is just because I just want to go golf, honestly, and just relax and not do anything. But yeah, I think that for me, I can be on the ice every day. Like right now I'm skating every day, and some people will skate once a week, twice a week, but just like I said, there's always something to work on when you're out there and you don't feel right in something else, then you move on to that now. So it's like a never ending homework assignment.
And what are some of the other things other than skating that you're doing right now to prepare for this next season?
I swim almost every day or every other day for cardio, and just whatever that helps with mobility and just easy on your joints. Golf every day, try to. And then I do a lot of jump roping, do that like 10 minutes a day or so. But yeah, I try to just incorporate other things that maybe people aren't doing to help me get an edge. So I think that's always trying to do a little bit more in some way.
We saw in your Becoming Wild episode, Pilates was something that
I do that every
too.
Wednesday. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Do you think that's helping your golf game too?
Hopefully, a little T-spine rotation.
Well, you are a good golf. The 2 times I played with you, you're under par for both of them. So it must be helping a little bit. Do you know someone who could benefit from this episode? If so, please take the time to share it with them. Whether it's an athlete, a coach, a parent, or just someone who loves inspiring stories, we want to get this message out, and we need you to help make that happen.
Well, one of the other components that we do for the foundation is called the Be the Best You program. And the program, we usually do it during our in sports days programming, and which are our camps that we put on for kids. And we talk a lot about being the best version of yourself. And we talk about goal setting, and we talk about self-regulation, and we talk about self-confidence. And just what is some advice, when you're out skating, maybe you have a bad shot, or, what are some ways that you kind of ground yourself to self kind of regulate when you're in the moment of feeling super intense?
I've read a series of books, listened to a series of podcasts, because some people 0.0001%, like Michael Jordan, like those guys like that, just have it in them with that last shot. But you read books about him, like he's missed thousands of last shots too, but people don't talk about that. They just talk about the ones they won. Michael Rubin from Fanatics just came and talked to us, and he said he's addicted to trying, and like he doesn't love failing, but he's not afraid of it. A lot of people are afraid of failing, where they don't want to take, maybe you miss that game-winning shot, right? Then the next game, the next day or the 2 days after, you have the same shot on your stick, same one you're about to shoot, whatever it is. A lot of people might be like, maybe I'll hand this one off to someone else because I might miss this again. Then my teammates are going to be thinking of me differently. My coach might, but like people that are successful can take failure. And I think that's something that I always try to work on too, is who cares if you miss that shot? That next shot you're that much closer to making it. So you might miss 10 shots, but that 11th one might go in. So every time you miss, you're that much closer to making it. And I feel like that's something that I try to work on too. To get to your point, just trying to be successful, is you just can't be afraid of failing. And I think people out there, younger kids or whoever it is, if you can have that mindset and you just keep shooting regardless of you're missing, then eventually they'll go in, and then you'll get more comfortable and more confident. And that's why people like Michael Rubin and others out there are so successful, because of how many times they failed. I think that the people that stay in their comfort zone don't reach their goals.
Well, and I think nowadays, even for kids, failing is like the biggest deal. We're even talking about it with our 6-year-old right now, and he was frustrated because he was missing all these basketball hoops outside, and he's like, I'm the worst. I'm like, you just got to keep practicing. That's what it's for, and just giving kids the confidence to keep going. And actually, like you said, you're going to be the most successful if you keep going when you keep failing. So that's really powerful.
Like I saw something on Twitter the other day that this very wealthy businessman told his son, is like, how big would you dream if you knew you couldn't fail? So it's like, that's actually a good point, because like people would have the most ridiculous goals that they've set themselves up for. But when you set yourselves up for the hardest things, then you're going to reach goals that you wouldn't even expect yourself to reach. So just having that mindset just to keep going and pushing yourself further and getting out of your comfort zone, I feel like it's something that's so big. And obviously in the world now, everything's scrutinized and everything's on social media. Everything's like, it's hard. It's like people are anxious. People are scared of failing, but at the end of the day, that's what makes you better.
Yeah.
So.
And do you feel like you had that mentality all throughout your life, or do you feel like that's been a maturity thing going from a young age? Obviously hockey's always been a passion and sports has always been a passion, but were you afraid to fail, or have you always had that mentality, like you're just going to do your best and not worry about it?
No, I feel like it's a thing that I can struggle with too. I want to win every single time, and I love having like the game winning shot and stuff like that. Doesn't mean I'm not still nervous, because everyone gets nervous in those situations, but to be able to bring yourself to a cool state and to get your breathing right and trying to succeed in that sense will help you be the best when you're in those moments. And it's not saying that you're going to be successful, but it'll give you the best opportunity. And from a young age, and being from a big family, we always compete in everything we do. It doesn't matter what it is.
Pickleball?
Anything. Literally anything. Making the best meal, like winning in knee hockey and playing cards and golfing, hockey, whatever it is, it's always playing tag. Like you want to win. And that's always been engraved in our family. And like I said, you're not always successful, but hopefully more times than not you will be. Or when you have the biggest shot, then you're going to make it. So you're always bouncing back and forth with failing and succeeding. And that, like I said, it ultimately makes you a better person and hopefully a better hockey player.
Yeah.
When you talk about family, I know you come from a big hockey family. You got a lot of cousins, and obviously your grandpa was one of the best North Stars. What kind of family dynamic did you have growing up, and did that kind of contribute to the person you are today? Because it seems like family is super important to you.
Yeah, I think just pushing ourselves. It's just being successful and being hard workers, and most importantly, good people has probably been what's engraved in our family. And it starts at the top with my grandparents, Lou and Francine Nanny, and they've pretty much laid the groundwork for all of us. And then it goes into our parents, who without them, we wouldn't be where we are today. So just the whole family aspect of, there's so many athletes, and besides athletes, there's so many good business people too in our family, that everyone's driving the same passion and drive and determination throughout our whole family, whether it's in sports or out of sports. And it trickles down to everyone in our family, because if you're not like that, then I don't know, there's really no room for it, I feel like. But that's what makes us
contagious,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And who doesn't want to be around that? So I think that's important, just the dynamic and the culture that our family's brought into us. And that's what we want to do, and for our grandkids and our kids someday too.
Does that feel pressure, or do you like that?
No, I think there's always pressure. But like I said, some people that have very little pressure and then have pressure are probably going to feel a little anxious and a little bit nervous, not wanting to fail. But that's like the hurdle you got to take to become successful, like we've talked about. And then others have felt pressure from early ages. So I know like my cousins have won state tournaments in hockey and in golf. Like Tyler, my cousin, won a golf championship, state championship, and then hockey in the same year. So like, but as a young age, like there's no pressure like golf either. I mean, you're a one-man sport and every shot matters. So
tell me about it. I'm really working on it.
It's insane.
It's a hard sport.
so crazy. So yeah, I think just everything has its ups and downs and its pressure. But like we said before, it's just things you got to take upon yourself to become better.
Yeah.
Let's take a little step back to high school, and you decided to go play in the USHL and then for the Gophers. What did that process look like for you? Because it junior hockey, picking a college, like it's a crazy process. What were you going through, 18, 19 years old to get that all figured out?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit before that. Some people like Max Cota, who I was really close with, he's marrying my cousin here in a month or two. But like we were in the same age, but I was playing Bantams in freshman year of high school, and he was playing on the varsity team. So it was like, it's really different. It's just like, I would go to watch him like every Thursday or Friday or Saturday, whatever the games were. And I was still in Bantams. So like, it was always like people's routes are a little bit different. Then I got to high school, my sophomore year, and then junior year, I had a very good junior year. And that set me up for trying to see what I wanted to do. And there was a sliver, I say it, but my parents were like, no way. But there's a sliver of me that wanted to go to the CHL and play for the Portland Winterhawks, which is no school. But it's a great route to go to the NHL. But my parents weren't going to let me do that. So I was thinking about the USHL. And then after my junior year, I just really wanted to go because I really wanted to be a true freshman. Looking back at it, it doesn't really matter. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and it doesn't matter how you get to the NHL when you get to the NHL. But I don't know if it's a pride thing or what, but I really wanted to be a true freshman. So I went my senior year, after my junior year for 9 to 10 games. I forgot what it was. And then I went full year senior year. But I just really wanted to be a Gopher as a freshman, a true freshman. But I was going back and forth between them and Nodak. And then that's when my grandpa stepped in and said, "You want to be a potato farmer or a pilot?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" Neither. And he goes, "Okay, so you're not going to school there." So
good.
Yeah,
I don't want to be either.
yeah. So, so that's why I ended up choosing Minnesota. But going to the Ralph and seeing that as a high schooler, you're like, this is the coolest thing in the world. And you knew there was kind of like the CHL too. Is like, you don't care about school there either. I mean, you're going to go to a few classes here and there, and obviously you're going to get a degree, but you're there for hockey, and you see what the Ralph's like. And I actually have never played in the Ralph.
Oh, the golf, you never?
No, I never did.
Really?
Never did, because they were out of our conference when I went there. And then we played them once and it was both in Minnesota. So I never got to experience it, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, so that's why I wanted to be a true freshman as a Gopher, and it was the best decision I made.
And how was, balancing academics and athletics, at a school like the University of Minnesota?
It was so simple because they're more worried about school than they are hockey. They're more worried about the diploma, which is how it should be. From an outside standpoint, we just want to play hockey, but we had mandatory tutors and study hours and stuff every single day. So there wasn't a choice, and you had to hit a certain GPA to play as well. So there's always pressure to be good in school too. We had all of our time to practice in the morning and stuff. So it wasn't interfered at all. So they hammered school down our throats, but I'm happy about it just because I have a degree from there now, and looking back at it, it's the best thing that I've done.
What did you graduate with?
Just communications.
Okay.
Yeah. Standard. We had guys doing some hard classes, business and Carlson Business School, and I was just like, this is nuts. But yeah, a lot of people did business, like standard business or communications.
And do you feel like that's helped you at all? Just because, like, being in the NHL, you probably have to do a lot of interviews and just knowing how to conduct yourself, like, or does it feel like what you learned in school that hasn't really translated? For
me, it was how I was raised from my parents. I don't think any school has helped me one bit. And I was a total memorize everything, and then after the class, when I walked out, I don't remember one thing I just learned. So it was like
memorization is
it was like I can remember anything for that test, and then after that it was like, I'm so relieved it's over. Okay, next test. And I forgot all the information, which is not good, but that's just how I did. But I learned how to become close to my teachers, and I learned how to go see them in after hours, not only so they could help me get A's, and because that's what they do. They show, when you show them that you care enough to get good grades, they'll obviously help you and give you pointers, and then they're the ones grading your tests. So obviously in their essays, so they're going to help you out. But I learned how to become close to my teachers and to get pointers from them so I could get A's, and that's what I did. And I think that's a very important lesson, just to become close to the people that you need to be close to, and but show that you care too, because I did. And I was more scared of my parents if I got bad grades than my coach or anything like that. So I think that was instilled in me, just again, hard work and trying to be successful. So even though I wasn't going anywhere with communications, I wasn't getting any medal or anything like that, I still wanted to get good grades because I think that's important.
Mm-hmm. Well, it translates a lot into the business world and with sports too. Like, you want to have good relationships with your coaches, your captains, and if you're in the business world, with your boss and your coworkers. So, the relationship is just a huge part of it. And yeah, they might not have cared much about how your academics, like if you weren't engaged with them like that. So
and to your point, if you ask any top business guy in the world, I would probably think that more than half would say relationships are the best thing.
Absolutely.
Nowadays.
100%.
Networking, relationships. They don't care what your degree was. If you can't do it, and you can't be a people's person, and you can't handle a conversation, then you're probably going to be passed up.
Mm-hmm. You think about sales, people buy from people they like.
Exactly.
The percentage that people buy from people they don't like is so slim.
No, and like my uncle, Marty Nanny, who's an unbelievable businessman, he does insurance with NFP, but he said, are you going to buy a product from just a random guy or from your friend? And it's like, your friend you're always going to buy from. So you start off with becoming close to them, understanding them, who they are, who their family is, their makeup and everything. And you become friends with someone, and then you can talk about your product. But you don't go and slam the product down their throats, because then they're going to be like, okay, you're just like everyone else.
Right.
So if you like the product, then yeah, I'll buy from you. But if not, then no. And if you're a friend and you're like, I want to buy from you just because I like you, then it's different.
And I think there's something to do with authenticity too.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not just trying to get to know someone to know someone. Like you said, spot on. I got to know my teachers because I cared.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I was just trying to stick my nose up and be a goody two shoe.
Exactly.
You really cared.
Yeah, you took the time to do the after hours and stuff, or else I would be going back to my dorm or my house and shooting the shit with guys, or going in playing Call of Duty or watching movies or doing something like that. But no, it's like you said, it was important for me to take extra time to do that.
Yeah. So tell us about, all right, so you're playing for the U, right? And then after that, how was that journey and that transition?
Yeah, I think my journey in hockey has always been the exact same from high school to USHL to college to pros. It's always been, I was always the fourth line guy, and I had to work my way up, and then I tried to be the top goal scorer or assist guy on the team, and then after that, go to the next team. Fourth line, and so my route to every team, to every league was always the exact same. It's very tough and grueling and mentally a grind because I would always be on the bottom of the totem pole, but it allowed me to find ways how I could grow my game and to earn the coach's trust and to end up climbing the ladder. And I think that was just so, it's the same. And I didn't get the golden opportunity that when I come to the team, okay, you're right on the first line, right in the power play, and you're going to stay like that for the whole time here, whether it was in the USHL or college or even before that in high school. So I was like, no, you're starting here, and then we'll see what you can do. So that's always been my route. And my junior year of high school or my junior year of college, I really showed something, and then my senior year again, and then that's where I started getting calls, and then my first 2 calls were from the Blackhawks and from the Rangers, and that's from there on out. I rest is history. Then I chose New York, and then spent time there.
Did you choose New York because of the pizza? Oh my God.
Yeah, seriously. Honestly, it was so up my alley that Chicago. Weirdly enough, the Sioux was my first call. And the Blackhawks were my first call. So same logo, same thing. Yep. Right on. And I ended up choosing the Gophers in New York. New York was honestly right up my alley with the pace, the fans, the city being just, you make it there, you make it anywhere. Frank Sinatra, it's been just right up my alley from the get-go. It's like, it's literally like the lights were shining down when you said that the New York Rangers wanted to sign you. It was like, that is so cool. And, it was.
Did you say yes right away? Did you go back, talk about it? What?
No, I obviously had to take a step back and talk about it and figure out my options and stuff. But it was so much fun. And it was, I mean, playing in New York is one of the coolest things.
What do you love? Like playing for the fans? What about playing in that?
Madison Square Garden. That's it. Playing Madison Square Garden is the coolest thing ever. But like, even I was a fourth line guy there, and I'd walk up and down the street in New York, which is, there's millions of people, and there would always be someone that would recognize me. I was like, this is crazy. Like, I'm no one, like, and people still know just because they're that passionate about hockey there. And anytime you'd go away and play in Chicago, play in Vegas, play anywhere, New York would always have more or just as many fans as the away team.
Wow.
Every single warm-up, the whole entire lower bowl is blue for warm-ups. It's always, they have one of the best followings, and that's just who they are.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What would you say, what's been your favorite memory playing pro hockey, just, you know, since you started in 2016?
I'm hoping to find one here soon. But no, it's honestly, for me, it's just getting to know new people is what hockey's about. The hockey world is so small, and everywhere you go, played in New York, played in Anaheim, played in Boston, Minnesota. Now I'm going back to Boston. Like, that doesn't bother me that I'm going to different teams. Some people might not like it. Some people like staying in one place. But for me, going to see new places and playing in front of fans and building new relationships with people is something that I love doing. But I'm just very, very, very fortunate to be in the places that I played. So to your point, my best memory, I'm not really sure. Hopefully a Stanley Cup someday, but just very fortunate to where I played and the people I've gotten to meet.
When you've gotten to play on so many different teams and going back and forth between the AHL and the NHL, is there like a consistent theme that in like the locker room that sets like, oh, this team is really close knit, we do well on the ice, the locker room's, you know, vibing, versus like, oh, this team doesn't have as good of a, it might be a toxic atmosphere. Like, do you see those differences on different teams you've played, or has it been pretty consistent?
You definitely see culture is everywhere in hockey. If you don't have culture, you're not winning. If you talk to any single team that's won the Stanley Cup, I guarantee they say that our room was so close and closer than anyone else's. It is hard with people getting traded and stuff, but you always weed out any bad individuals. So that's why when you go to any hockey team, you really will have, if you ask them if there's any bad guys on your team, be like, no, not really. Like, maybe there's guys that they don't hang out with, but there's not any bad guys, because that's the hockey culture itself is everyone's so tight and it's a team sport. So everywhere you go, if you want to win, you have to be close, no matter your differences or anything. Now, there's going to be some cliques. There's going to be some people that hang out with other people. It's not like all 25, 23 guys are hanging out with each other every single night. But there is certain rooms you go in that just bleed culture. And those are always the people that are in the top of the standings and the top of the leaderboard at the end of the year.
Yeah. And once again, it just goes back to just sports in general, how it is a community. You're building relationships. I mean, you'll probably have these relationships for the rest of your life, right?
Yeah.
And I just think that is such a powerful message to everybody. Be kind, build relationships, having a good culture in anything you do, whether that's family, whether that's business, whether that's a sport. It's build meaningful relationships, and having a really strong culture will mend for success for the end of time, right?
Yeah, and that's why hockey is so unique, is because basketball, there's only a couple stars on the team, and then everyone else are complementary players, but I can tell you they're not all hanging out together all the time. Football, there's too many guys, so there's no way you kind of hang in your positions or people hang at all. And I mean, baseball, I'm not really sure. There's a lot of good guys in baseball, but I know it's not the same culture as hockey. Like, there's messages into the group chat, where is everyone? Like, it's when people go out as a team, they want everyone out. They don't say, okay, those 4 guys can hang back, like, we'll just go us. It's you're usually hearing about it in the group chat. So when you don't go somewhere with the team, you kind of feel on edge, like, okay, I hope they don't put something in the group chat. I hope they don't know that I'm not there, kind of thing. So that's why hockey is so great, is just because it's a family aspect.
So we hope that there are young kid listeners, maybe it's adults, maybe it's not, but if you were to give advice to a kid right now who is, maybe they are playing hockey or they're trying to get to be you someday, what advice would you give them?
For me, is just putting in the extra work. When you think you've done enough, you probably haven't, because there's a million people out there that play hockey, and there's only a number of guys that play in the NHL. And everyone is good nowadays. If you see the little kids growing up, it's like, what the heck is going on?
It's crazy. What we see at the rink now with our son,
it's insane. So if you think you're doing enough, you probably aren't. You probably past the 20%, but then there's another 80% that are doing what you're doing. And then there's another 40% that, okay, I'll do a little bit more. Okay, but how do you exceed all those players? And that's putting in the extra work, taking care of yourself, sacrificing as a kid, which is the worst thing in the world, because you want to go on spring break. But I never had one spring break in my whole entire life, because I was always playing hockey on a different team, AAA team, whatever it was. So you're going to have to make sacrifices, but at the end of the day, you're going to be hopefully sitting in a successful spot and saying, like, I'm so glad I did what I did.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people live in the here and now, but they forget that 10, 15 years down the road, like, did I want to be doing this, or did I wish that I was doing something else, kind of thing? So it was, nothing bad is going to come out of putting in the extra work, because you're only going to learn life lessons from that.
And I know you obviously have a close-knit family. How did you find that balance, right, of playing hockey all the time, practicing all the time, but also wanting to spend quality time with family and friends? Were you able to find that balance, or was hockey that sole focus and that's just what you did and you mended that into your life? Yeah,
that's pretty much what I did. And my friends were my hockey players. And I had obviously, like, a lot of friends in high school that I'm just like, if I saw them down the street, I would love to say hi to them and stuff like that and hang out with them. But the guys who I hung out with and the guys who me the most to me are pretty much the hockey guys. And you have to surround yourselves with people that are going to push you to get better.
Mm-hmm.
If you're surrounding yourself with people that want to stay back and drag their feet and stuff, then most likely you're going to be a part of that. So you want to be a part of people that are going to push you. And that's always what I did. And my family could care less. If I didn't see them for 8 hours because I was shooting pucks and doing that, like they'd be happy. Mm-hmm. So like I said before with my family, is everyone drives to be successful, and everyone's successful in my family because they spend the extra time, they're determined, their work ethic is incredible.
So to get better at golf, you're saying I need to go golf with really good people.
Yeah, exactly. You must be golf with bad people. That's what it is.
I'm just kidding.
Hey, last time we went, that was the best I've ever seen you play. So
actually, you never know, because it's the hat. I'm superstitious. No hat. I'm not wearing a hat again next time I golf.
No. Is your wife play at all?
Yeah, she's learning. She's
maybe her and I need to stick
together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she loves it though.
Well, if there was one thing that you would do if you could like help improve youth hockey, like what would be that thing that you think would make a huge difference, just to grow the game, grow the sport of hockey?
I guess there's like when I think of myself now, I'm learning the most. I'm not learning. I'm working on the most basic things. So 29 years old, I'm going for my 8th year pro, and I'm still working on picking up rims every day. Nikita Kucherov, who's one of the best players in the game, he came out with something in, I think they wrote in The Athletic, but he takes about 150 rims a day. And think of that, like you learn that as a kid, but you don't want to do that. Like you just want to go shoot pucks and score goals and skate 100 miles an hour. But the people that are the best in the world are working on the most basic things. So I feel like if you're a kid working right now, it's probably going to be the stuff that you don't want to work on is what you're always going to come back to. It's the most basic things. Passing, like the difference between NHL players passing and anyone else is insane. Like you put your stick out in the slot or anywhere, neutral zone, defensive zone, it's always hitting your stick. Any other leagues, it might be just a little bit behind you, a little bit in front of you. You're still probably going to catch it, but it's going to make yourself that much slower to make the next play. So like that, thinking in the game, the passing, shooting, picking up rims, the most basic things are probably the best things for kids to work on, even though they don't want to.
Hey listeners, we want to take a quick moment to tell you about the InSports Foundation. At InSports, we believe every kid deserves to play sports, regardless of their financial situation. Our mission is to provide free camps, scholarships, and team sponsorships to reduce the cost of sports and get more kids in the game. Through sports, kids can learn valuable life lessons, stay active, and maintain their mental well-being. To support our mission and help give more kids a chance to play sports, visit insportsfoundation.org and consider making a donation today. Together, we can make a lasting impact.
It's just like the golf swing. Like if your golf swing's going bad, like you go back to the fundamentals like grip, stance.
What about putting? No one can putt.
Right.
And that's the most important part of the game. That's what you learned, putting all the way back to the driver. But think about the percentage in the PGA of putting. Like no one can putt. There's only a few people in the world that are good at putting. So it's the most basic things are the hardest things. But everyone wants to go to the driver. Everyone wants to go score goals and stuff like that. But what about passing, taking rims, making the next play and stuff like that? So yeah, it's all the basics.
Definitely. And that's such a good lesson for business, for life. It's like back to the basics. Don't make things too complicated, and you're probably going to be successful if you just work on those things.
Yeah, exactly.
It was interesting. We were just listening to another sports podcast, and they talked a lot about at a young age, parents are throwing kids in all these teams, all these traveling teams. They're 6 years old and all these traveling teams. Is like at the end of the day, if you're throwing them into all these teams, they're just going to continue to get bad habits. They're not working on those fundamental skills where they should actually probably be at home working on those fundamental skills, because in a game, maybe you get to shoot the puck 5 times, but if you're at home practicing, you can probably shoot it 100 times. So just going back to, once again, the fundamentals, the basics, keeping kids, and it's hard too, because I feel like kids' attention spans are so out there, so they want to do it for a little bit and then go do something else, so trying to keep them hyper focused is all chill.
Who's the guy on Twitter? It's not Patrick Harrington, is it? It was who was it?
Golfer.
Yeah, the golfer and his son. Did you hear? Do you see that whole thing on Twitter? It's definitely not Harrington, but they were talking about how when his son was so young, they bring him out to the range, and then whatever he wanted to do that day, he wanted to go to the water and throw rocks in the water. Okay, we're doing that. He wants to go putt. Okay, we're doing that. He wants to go hit 4 balls and then go home. Okay, we'll do that. And he said, but right when they started to have fun, he pulled them out and said, we got to go home, because then he wants to go back that much more when he gets home. And he said, you don't pull him out when he's tired and when he wants to go home, because then he's maybe not really that excited to go back because he's leaving it being tired. But then he said at the end of the day, before they would leave, he would always go in the clubhouse and take 10 minutes and have a Coke with his son, because then every single day when you go to golf, you're going to be thinking about the memories of having a Coke with your dad. And you're going to be drawn to go back and hit more and more because you're so excited about getting better and you're so excited about doing it. So it's like whatever the kid wants to do that day at the golf course, just let him do. When he's having the most fun, pull him out. So he still has that love for the game.
I love that.
And that's kind of, it's a great thing, because I mean, you'd probably think like, okay, I want you to hit 100 putts, then I want you to hit 100 drives. The kid's like 4 years old or whatever. It's like, I want to turn this kid into something special, but then you might burn him out. It's a very fine line, because you have no idea how each kid is going to turn out. And that one kid could be like Tiger Woods. I mean, his dad drilled him to do everything, and look how he turned out. I mean, he's the best golfer in the world. Now, obviously you have certain aspects of the sport that draws you to maybe getting in trouble sometimes, but he's still nonetheless the best golfer in the world who's ever played. So some kids can handle it. Maybe some kids can't.
Right.
Maybe that's why Braxton loves golf so much, because he gets a Powerade every time he comes.
Yeah.
Each time he comes home, it's a red mustache and then a blue mustache.
Yeah, he loves it.
One day I go, buddy, I bet you had a red Powerade. He goes, how'd you know that?
No way.
Oh,
No way.
face.
That's so great.
Well, Vinny, with our In Sports Foundation, our goal is to help kids get more involved in sports. And so we do that by putting on free camps for kids. We give scholarships to kids, and we help teams reduce fees, whether it's equipment, travel expenses, just to get more kids active and playing, because sports just bring so many life lessons that you can learn and take on through the rest of your life. Also, we're promoting kids to be active, because that's just such good for your body, such good for your mental awareness. But what we would love to do with you, if you're up for it, is we want to give $1,095, because 95 is going to be your number in Boston, right?
I think so.
I think so. Well, we can play with that number, but we want to be able to take that money and use it for something that you'd be passionate about, to giving back to youth hockey, whether it's help putting on a camp for kids or giving a scholarship to kids. But we'd love to collaborate with you to be able to grow the game of hockey and give back to the community if you're up for it.
Yeah, and I think that's awesome what you guys are doing too, because sports are super expensive, and not every kid has like the opportunity to do what like a lot of kids get to do. Like it's amazing how expensive it is. And we, like, as a kid growing up too, you don't even think about it. You just want to say, I just want another stick, I want another pair of skates, but the dollar signs don't add up in your head. But then like when you see it now, it's crazy what parents do for kids. And obviously there's people out there that are not as fortunate. So it's awesome.
When you look at like your day to day, like giving back really is one of the most fulfilling things that you can do, because there's always people out there that don't have what you have. And, but yeah, just would love to hear a little bit more about the foundation that you and your wife are starting.
Yeah, it's just a fund that my wife and I started through Children's Masonic Hospital, and just money that gets put into having events and parties for the kids, putting toys on their toy cart, food opportunities, and just creates different things in the lobby that the kids get to forget about why they're there or what they have for a second, get to go out and have fun and do things like as simple as us going out and golfing. Like, you don't know how lucky we are to do that, but you're slamming your club on the grass because you got a bogey or something. But you don't realize like how good we have it. And then these kids are stuck in the hospital for weeks, months, years, whole life, whatever it is. And it's just a fund that gives money for things that the kids want to do or the kids get. And like I said, I'm very fortunate to know you guys and have you guys be running your foundation too, and how important that is to giving time. And you never know who you're helping and how much you're helping. So anything goes a long way, and you really can't put a price on that. Well,
want to give you a chance to do one last plug. Are you doing the state fair with your dad this year? Is he going to have the stand? Where can people find that, and what's the name?
Right next to the Midway, but it's across from the fry stand. It's a red booth, but it's Tino's Pizza on a Stick.
Okay. Yeah, Tino's Pizza on a Stick.
It looks really
going
good.
37 or 39 years now. But
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And you'll be working it again this year?
Oh, yeah.
At the state fair?
Give it a couple days, yeah. It's awesome.
Well, we'll try to show up and bring our kids and get some pizza.
Dip that in that marinara.
That'd be great. Right? Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Awesome.
The best.
Well, Vinny, we really appreciate you joining us for the Athletes in Sports podcast. And I know you got such a busy schedule, but we really, really appreciate you being here and sharing your journey, and hope we can do this again sometime too.
Yeah, thank you.
Best of luck in Boston.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, go Bruins.
Yeah, let's go.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Athletes in Sports podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more from inspiring athletes, we encourage you to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on all of our social media channels.